Some amazing set of stalwart speakers. Let me go ahead quickly and invite and introduce them for all of you. We have with us Mr. Anil K. Shah, who's the Chief Executive Officer, Nabil Bank, Nepal. We're also joined by Sunita Handa, who's the CGM IT Channels and Ops Global IT Center with State Bank of India. We're also joined by Nitin Agarwal, President, Group CIO with Edelweiss Group. We also have with us Aaron Lee, who's the Chief Information Officer, United Asia Finance. We also have with us Mr. Vikas, who's a co-founder, VDA Infosolutions. Mr. Girish Nayak, Chief Service Operations and Technology, ICICI Lombard. And Satyan Jambunathan, Chief Financial Officer, ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. Now, we also have with us that one person who's responsible in extracting perspectives from all our amazing speakers. We're joined by Nimilita Chatterjee, Partner Financial Services, Risk Analytics, Business Consulting with EY India. So warm welcome indeed to all of our fabulous speakers. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And with that, I'd like to hand over the proceedings to Nimilita. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kavya. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this morning. And it is, there's one word, and you summed it up very, very beautifully when you said really there's one word that sums this entire, the situation that we've been in, for the lack of a better word, from March onwards. It's really been one thing after another. And I think everybody is thinking about the fact that with 2020 going away, probably all of these problems will go away. But all of us, I guess, around the table know that with the turn of the year, nothing really happens. 1st of January is just like 31st of December. Nothing much is going to happen unless, of course, all these talks of things like vaccine and all of that start becoming a reality. Well, having said that, given the situation that we are all in, and probably for the lack of a better word, we are calling it a crisis. Although I don't know if in BFSI really we could refer to it as a crisis. I think the crisis in some way or the other has broken us out of many types of slumber that we were in probably, in the past few years, or the slowness that maybe had crept in some of us has really gone away. So what I'll do is really for the esteemed panel, first of all, we have a large panel and we have only about 50 odd minutes. So I'd please request you to keep your comments as quick as possible. But what I'll do to start off is really go around the table for the first time and really see what is that one thing that the crisis really changed in your lives professionally, in your professional lives. And I'll start with Mr. Shah. If it would be really nice to hear that one thing, that really changed from March to where we are now.
I think that one thing has to be mindset in our case, maybe most of our cases, because the mindset in the past was very different from the mindset we find ourselves in today. All of us had DRPs, BCPs, so on and so forth, but all of them, Nepal being in a seismic zone, if there is an earthquake, if there's a fire, so on and so forth, none of that happened. We were prepared for it. Our infrastructure is solid and working perfectly fine, but we, the humans, couldn't get to it. So we had to change the mindset in the way we work, in the way we deal with customers, in the way we look at risk, as well as the way we look at opportunities, because this has also brought about a lot of opportunities. We only talk about the downside. There's also been an upside to this. But the mindset has gone through a paradigm shift, I think, from the time we had the first positive in Nepal to where we are today. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that has changed in this duration for us.
Absolutely, right. Never let a crisis go waste, right? I guess that's what we're all thinking about. Ms. Handa, over to you. What is that one thing, if you could quickly tell us?
Yeah, I'll say one thing, but in 3 parts, very briefly. See, first thing is our fast responder mindset came to test. It was tested. Absolutely reacting to the situation, responding without any delay immediately, because SBI had to serve the nation, the government, the new schemes, and 48 crore customers. A. B is BCP was no longer the solution. We had to have BCCP, business continuity and change planning. That replaced the usual BCP we have. And third is we all have decided to not let the crisis go waste. There have been learnings regarding work from anywhere. It works. Digital, customers have learned, oh, digital is easy. So this is the third part. This is learning, relearning, and we are going to go ahead with many things which we had, adopted just to tide over the crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. That's again very pertinent. Mr. Agarwal, coming to you, if we could have your comments, please.
For me, the biggest change has been, around customer and internal behavior. I think we've all talked about digital transformation, how much time will it take, what will be the time to adopt for customers. And I think repeatedly it has shown, whether you talk about UPI framework, which Government of India launched, or GST framework, which we launched, or a COVID crisis, where organizations, irrespective of their vintage and caliber, had to go through transformation. And technology was able to adopt, how quickly people were able to adopt when the resolution came to the forefront and there was no choices given. I think is the biggest testament to the fact that technology can play a very, very, very big role. I think it's the mindsets of the people which always are constraining in terms of evolution of ourselves, the technology and what we can achieve. But when there is a crisis, I think the world is already full with technology and support systems and infrastructure. It's us who have to think differently. I have always believed that customers adopt much faster than the enterprises. This crisis has again shown us that customers quickly switched to e-commerce platforms, digital platforms. We did not have to do the training programs for them. Historically, enterprise systems rollout itself are 1-year exercise with training programs. Customers don't need the training programs. How you design the system which are self-resilient. So it has taught us a lot of things, and I'm hoping as the industry that internalize, and this is around how we do application delivery, how we do security delivery, what is a mindset on security, right? I mean, we were all into perimeter mindset, Anil talked about it, how remote access was not allowed and stuff like that. And we've quickly moved there. So I think the technology footprint is already there. I think it's our resolve to quickly change that and adopt is a great learning.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee, from you, please.
Yeah. Actually, because COVID-19, the first happened phase is in China. And then my company is one of the major finance company in Greater China region. We are provide kind of banking service and money lending service to many cities in China and Hong Kong. And the COVID-19 totally we are changing so much, particularly using disruptive technologies to help our customer to engage with us. Because in Hong Kong, particularly in Hong Kong, because we are locked down for a long while, and then the people is not allowed to go to our branches. Just like the normal banking service, we can't go to doing some normal application, even submit a form in some banking service inquiry, something like that. We can't do this. And then we totally change using online omni-channel to engage with our customer. And then because all kind of social behavior, we can use AI captured by social listening solution, and then consolidate all kind of customer data with the social listening data together, and then project the customer behavior, how impact to our organization. So this 9 months is to Hong Kong and China is a very surplus years to us, because we change our habit. We have a new normal scenario in Hong Kong and Greater China region. We are the first phase can control COVID-19, particularly in China and Taiwan and Hong Kong. So now the COVID-19 pandemic situation in China and Hong Kong is comparatively so stable, but our revenue in terms of our company revenue, we increase exponentially. So compared with the other country like a Western country, like in US, the situation is not like that. So the new normal is a big shift from normally it's a Western country or US, Canada. Now the major change go to our Asia, and particularly in Greater China region. So I think this kind of significant changes will continue in the coming 3 years. So this is in Hong Kong we have many university research, particular for the next generation of customer behavior. We do very in depth on that. We will leverage most of AI, blockchain, cloud computing, big data. Okay, we can say this is ABCD technologies to make new way of work, new way of engagement with our customer. This is my sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I think again, great perspectives. Mr. Savay, your views, please.
Well, I can see a major change in our own customers' mind, and that is because of their customers' mindset change. You have seen the digital payment, which has been accepted across India quite widely now. Same thing has happened if you see with eKYC and other things which were earlier not possible, and work from home become a new normal, which many of the fintech was earlier objecting to. So this is a big change, and this is change has brought up new things to our business also.
Great. Mr. Nayak, please.
Yeah, I think other panelists have talked about how this change has affected the customer and the employees. I'll just talk about the way it's affected our industry, especially general insurance. We are an industry which has been typically, while you have customers approaching us digitally, but it's still largely physical interactions, physical infrastructure, and done through a large distribution network, whether it's agents, dealers, or brokers. Now, what the whole shift to technology and digital has helped is that the adoption of all the solutions that we had for our distribution has been sped up exponentially. I mean, we had solutions in place for a long time for digital issuance of policies, for digital claim surveys, digital servicing, but the adoption by the channels was not as we would have liked it. Based on not very familiar with physical interaction, visiting the branch, or having our surveyors visit their garages. Because of the whole lockdown and the social distancing put in by the pandemic, then suddenly digital became the only way they could operate, and they could see how easy it was to get their work done through the digital solutions that we offer them. So that's the adoption really has in the distribution has really gone up exponentially.
Great. So I think everything is changing, right? Whether it is the customer, whether it's the distribution channel, all of that. Mr. Jambunathan, your final views, and then we can move to the main questions, please.
Thanks, Nimilita. If I were to summarize in a brief way, I would say need for resilience in line with the theme that we are talking about. And I'll pick on from what Girish spoke about. In the insurance industry, we are probably tuned to thinking of probabilities. We're tuned to thinking of extreme events. But you do realize that situations like these, that no amount of tuning on probability or tuning of thinking on extreme events quite prepares you for the consequences that practically emerge. And therefore, of course, there is the one part of preparation. There is also the other part of how do you build the entire ecosystem to be resilient to deal with the various stakeholders. And I think Girish beautifully described the stakeholders as well. Because we have the consumers and the customers in their own service behavior. We have the distributors in their own prospecting and fulfillment behavior. We have employees in their own way of working in a day-to-day environment. And we also have a situation where some of the physical processes you would have to execute in your business as usual are not possible anymore. And therefore, you start using the ecosystem as a key enabler to deliver process as far as fulfillment or servicing is concerned. So to my mind, it is about be prepared for resilience. You can never really call what is going to be the outcome of extreme events.
Absolutely. And I guess business as usual, the definition itself has changed as we look at things today, right? Thank you very much for all your comments. I'll go around with a set of questions that we have, and I do apologize in advance in case we can't cover everybody given the situation, given the time limit. But if you again, I'd request you to please keep your comments short so that everybody has a chance to answer some of the questions that we have, because we have some really interesting conversation pointers going forward. So coming back to you, Mr. Shah, I think the main question on the table really, I think we heard that theme through what everybody spoke, is the whole digitization, right? Whether it is digitization in terms of what the customer is doing, or the internal digitization in terms of the way things have changed in the way we conduct business at a regular, in normal times. I would just like to hear your views on how we as an industry, when I say we as an industry, the BFSI industry, is leveraging digital opportunity. And is there something we are missing out, or something that we are behind on that you would love to see, going forward?
That's I think one of the main things that we have experienced through this pandemic is this wave of digitization. And what I'd like to say right up front is, if you look at the technology that there is today and the technology at the start of the pandemic, there has not been revolutionary change in the technology. The technology was there. In the case of Nabil Bank in Nepal, we had all these digital solutions out there in the market, but the uptake was very limited from the customers. They would prefer to come to the branch, sit down, have a cup of tea, talk to the branch manager, discuss their loan repayment, so on and so forth. No matter how many times we said, use the app, use this, use that, the uptake was very limited on part of the customer. The pandemic has been a huge boon in that. In Nepal, we used to be always given the example by our donor agencies and international agencies of M-Paisa in Kenya, to say, look at M-Paisa in Kenya. Every Kenyan uses M-Paisa, and how come you don't have an app like this? You should get apps like this in Nepal, and so on and so forth. We did a bit of deep dive into M-Paisa to see what is this revolutionary app that the Kenyans are using, and we found it had nothing to do with the app. The crime rate is so high in Kenya that people don't want to carry money. By using M-Paisa, by not carrying money, the chance of them getting robbed was far less, so they were using M-Paisa. So for us, it wasn't crime, it was Corona that moved the customer base into digitization. Now, for the challenge for us is, now that they've gotten used to it, they're not asking, let's open a branch near in my village or in my town or anything. They're saying, get me more services that I can do. I want to open my accounts through digitization. I want eKYC. I don't want to ever come to the branch again, because there could be all sorts of things that are happening here. And even when they come to the branch, now we've just introduced an branch banking by appointment. So they can take an appointment and actually come and tell exactly what they want, whether it's a withdrawal or deposit, and they don't have to wait in queue, and they go straight through and get their transactions done. So digitization has done a quantum leap, not because the technology has changed, but again, it comes to the mindset. Internally also, we used to do processes, a lot of it was paperwork, so on and so forth. But now we're moving internally as well to see how much can we do digitally, because the work environment has changed. We're all working from home. We're working from, wherever we are. We don't want people to come to the office and then, sort of contaminate everybody else as well. So the process of working internally has changed to be much more digital. The products that we had, the uptake is much more. And now the challenge is for us, I think, as you said, the final part of your question is to find right partnerships. At least in our case, we are not trying to develop everything ourselves. We are not a tech company. We're a bank. We have good fintech companies, good young entrepreneurs who have got different products. Let's see how we can dovetail those in with the type of services that we are doing. For instance, what I said, the appointment banking, the QR at the counter, so that they can just tap and do that, the green pins through the ATMs. All these are, vendors that are providing us this, small fintechs, medium, big fintechs that are providing this. And now the challenge is to find the right fintech partners to sort of dovetail their products with the services that our customers want. The one huge hurdle of the customer mindset has been overcome. Internally, also this hurdle of having to do everything on paperwork and getting many signatures, that has been overcome. Now the challenge for us is to find the right solutions to be able to deliver those services to our customers, internal and external, for process changes as well as product delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. That was again, I think, the whole make versus buy conversation, and the very important point of saying technology never really changed. It is us who changed. Our customers changed. Suddenly, the same plane was able to fly a longer distance and probably carry more people, and that happened just because of the fact that the way we did things changed. So I think that's a good segue into the next part of the conversation that we'd like to have, which is on technology, right? So Ms. Handa, if this is really a question for you, in especially looking at the size of SBI, the number of customers, and you said it very rightly, crisis or no crisis, the bank had to continue, or all banks had to, and banks and BFCs had to continue to service the customer, right? It's probably brought a lot of things into perspective for each one of us. And I say this whether it's both professionally as well as personally. On technologies that are really innovative, that have changed and are really future ready, what are your sort of top few things that you would evaluate or that you look at today differently when you invest in a technology or you look at a technology roadmap in terms of truly making a technology resilient and making it future ready, and where should the money really be spent? That's the question that I had for you.
Okay. Thank you, Nimilita. First, I think your earlier question, it made me ponder. You said that banks, have they done enough? Have they made the best of the opportunities? And second, what are those elements which still need some more push or which are lagging behind? I'll quickly, tell my thoughts on this, and then I'll come to what I look for in a platform when I acquire it and when I want to go ahead with my future readiness. So, okay, the first thing is, banking industry, I think zeal of banking industry can be considered as the third driver for digitalization in our country. We can say internet and penetration, the first, mobile penetration, the second, and third is zeal of the banking industry. The range of products, online products banking industry has offered to the customers, I think it is an example. And a bank like State Bank of India can say that despite 24,000 branches all across the country and in 32 countries, we have 93% of the transactions through non-branch channels. So that is the extent of digitalization which has happened. So, and over and above that, the mobile-based solutions the banking industry has given, that is absolutely, people are zapped by this, that for every need we have a mobile app or a mobile optimized portal. That's what people have been saying. So we have, banks have leveraged on the mobile revolution also. Then you said which elements they are slightly left behind. Though SBI can't afford to leave them behind, what I'm going to talk, but then in the ecosystem probably some more effort is required. See, we are having 500 million smart mobiles subscribers in the country, but people forget that there are 350 million feature phone subscribers also. So I've seen banks, in SBI we have all kinds of segments of customers, so we cannot forget any, whether it is profit making or loss making or it is not breaking even. No, we have to serve that segment of customer also. So this feature phone wala customers, we have this SBI Quick, for example, which is SMS banking or missed call banking. So now this has to be launched by all the ecosystem players. That's what my feeling is. Second aspect where enough has not been done is for the check issuing corporates, I'll say. See, we not only have to take the society to a less cash society, we have to take it to a less check society also. Still, we have corporates who issue paper-based checks where there is risk also, there are frauds also, because either they say no, there are not enough number of products for us, of the user-friendly products for corporates. Or secondly, maybe the products are there, but their knowledge transfer has not happened to the extent it should happen. So there also, I'll say our business, the way it has exponentially grown during this pandemic times, I mean, it has to be seen to be believed. The graph which comes to me daily, how the usage has been going up. So this is one opportunity. Luckily, SBI had started off in time, and the pandemic has helped us in growing our customer base on SBI Quick. that SMS banking as well as on corporate. So these two are other things. Then you mentioned about what I look for. Now, many new products are being launched because crisis has given us an opportunity to look at what are the new demands, like contactless payments. Simple. Even if somebody is withdrawing cash from ATM, he says no, ATM have to touch 5 times. No, I don't want to do that. Can it be reduced to 2 touches? Can it be reduced to 1 touch? Something like that. So these kind of new demands have come, and then we look at fintechs, we look at platforms. So my first requirement as State Bank will be, it has to be robust, it has to be AI enabled, it has to be mobile friendly, then it has to be scalable. Yes, the very basic thing for SBI, it has to be scalable. So these things, then I should be able to, it should be agile enough. Whatever platform I require for these new services, it has to be agile enough to later keep on adding new services that our customers, because customer demands, they'll keep on evolving. Today there is one pandemic, tomorrow our customer is evolving and he has new requirements. His infrastructure or his technology has been upgraded. So that's why I'll say these 5 basic requirements I look for in a platform that when I acquire it. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Totally. I think scalability is key. Being on 24/7 is not just good enough. Now it should also be scalable at all times. And I think the point on feature phones is super well taken. I think somewhere or the other, in this whole melee of saying digitization and things like that, we sort of forget that segment of our customers who probably don't have access, and how do we solve for them? That's probably a big challenge and a bigger challenge to solve right now. Thank you so much for your views. Mr. Jambunathan, I'll jump to you in terms of, a good place for us to talk about the rise of fintechs, insurtechs, all of these, and I think we heard that theme also coming along. How is the industry leveraging the fintechs, insurtechs, who are probably being very nimble in bringing out solutions, who have had solutions in the past that we're looking at, and what are the different use cases that you all are looking at solving, and the types of partnerships that you are looking at with fintechs and insurtechs?
So in a way, if I have to relate to what kind of fintechs and insurtechs add most value to us, it's worthwhile looking at the value chain that we are looking at in our entire delivery from start to finish. The start of it is how we engage our distributor and help them do more in the same time with their customers. Any kind of technology, therefore, which helps the distributor get a better understanding of his customer, gives him a better ability to engage either face-to-face or remotely, and take that through to a logical conclusion of a buying decision, is one very significant area. The second step in the value chain is, once a distributor has completed his prospecting, there is a risk assessment and onboarding which has to happen. This is an area where there are a lot of interesting use cases with respect to ecosystems, be it in the context of know your customer related documentation, or even in the context of risk assessment, whether it is life, health, income assessment. That's an area where I would believe that fintechs can actually find a significant amount of use cases. The third part of the value chain is delivery of service to customers. In that area, it is really about how well we can make our own service delivery architecture react, respond, and seamlessly deliver to the expectations of the customer, keeping in mind that expectations dramatically change over time, keeping in mind that a customer who sought a physical interaction yesterday, who moved on to maybe a digital interaction today, might very well say tomorrow that everything has to be based on voice. Using information that we have available through various past servicing interactions with customers, using information that we have from the ecosystem, using analytics to bind all of this to an intelligent service delivery becomes the next important milestone. Last but not the least, in the life insurance business, and this is something that we as a company believe very strongly in, claims is the ultimate moment of truth. The ability, therefore, to deliver a claim process in minutes will become a key differentiator. But this is sometimes easier said than done, because as old as insurance is, insurance fraud is also just as old. And therefore, risk analytics in the context of fraud, claims, the entire ecosystem that operates in claims will become another very, very significant area where technology, data, analytics can play a very, very significant role for us. So those, to my mind, would be, in a simplistic sense, the platforms that can tremendously add value to an insurance organization.
Thank you. And again, you raise a very, very pertinent point, and that was probably the next area that I was going to jump into. And you probably raised two big areas of conversation. One is on the data and analytics side and the application of data and analytics, and the other is really on the risks side. So, Mr. Save, I'll jump to you on the risks, right? The new world, the work from home, the new type of, the new way in which all of us are doing business. What are the kind of risks that have come about in the industry? What are the trends that you are seeing, hearing? What are the kind of problems that you all are solving as we look at risks that emerge, either existing risks that already existed, which we have to continue to take care of, and the new risks that have emerged in this new world?
Yes, you correctly said. So when you talk about a technology is being equally used by good and bad players. A potent example being a ransomware. So if you see, whenever you are bringing up any technologies, it brings up its own demon also. Now, cyber threats are becoming more sophisticated, and it's not a matter of if, but when you will be faced with such an attacks. So recent attacks, if you see on global companies like Merck's shipping giant, have caused billions in loss of revenues, and you can leave ongoing negative effects like damaged reputations or lack of shareholder confidence, and so on and so forth. So attacks are virtually non-stop. When we talk about protection, the prevention, there are a number of ways how I can protect myself from any cyber attacks. Prevention is a very common methodologies, but when you talk about prevention, it is not always 100%. So if somebody sneak in, how I can protect myself? So that is a big question. So too often we see organizations are focused on guarding against very specific type of cyber attacks or cyber actors. This narrows the focus is put on the risk. It's important to understand that cyber attacks take many forms, and the attackers may have variety of motivations, techniques, and even platforms from which these attacks can be launched. One of the most difficult type of cyber attacks to defend against the one launched by the insiders, I mean, either knowingly or maybe unknowingly, but they tend to have physical access, full knowledge of the infrastructure, and many even have benefited from privileges giving to more access and more damage that they can do. So ransomware or bad actors have learned that they have a better chance of achieving their goal by getting more money out of it if they destroy the backup completely, because backup is something which any organization has an immediate measure of their protection, right? In case there's an attack, how I can recover is a backup. And this actually has placed a backup under the direct attack. So people still believe that I have a backup, so I am safe. But many of the times it has happened that Sony is a big example of this, that when they go and check up, the backup itself was attacked by a cyber attack, and there was absolutely nothing that they can do. And if you see, the backup admins are the main target for compromise through variety of attack vectors, because their access is trusted. and they can easily and rapidly become an effective change agent to carry out these attacks. And if you see most of the organization, backups are, from the security angle, are the most neglected. Nobody look at the backup to be secured. And its time has come that one has to focus on how they can secure their backups also. Because if we talk about prevention, there are many things that people are talking about, ranging from firewall to APS, IPS, threat prevention, so on and so forth. But what if, even if somebody enters in? So look at your file systems, okay, or whatever data that you hold on clouds, even that can be deleted. So finally is what? I mean, the cloud is not an inherently secured location for backup. It's just a different from what product environment you have. So even, I mean, there is a misconception that though Madam has clearly stated that disaster recovery does not equal to cyber recovery. So you have a disaster recovery does not mean that you can recover from it. It is prone to cyber attacks. So the good cyber recovery strategy takes all of these into account. So since we partnered with Dell EMC, so Dell EMC has a cyber resiliency solutions and services, including their Protect Cyber Recovery, which provides a solution which, if you heard about air gap technology, wherein your data, the backup data is being isolated from your existing network using these technologies. And whenever there is a new change in data which is coming in using an AI, artificial intelligence, it can actually cross-check is the data is being modified to an extent which is beyond normal. That means suppose any incremental or any applications usually hardly changes. A day the changes will be 1 or 2%. But suddenly if I found a change more than that, or the files which usually are not touched upon has been touched abnormally, then I can alert, so that instead of opening my repository of backup, I will copy it into the secondary location called as a sandboxing, and I can check it out. So these are the things which actually helps customers. So the modern and a powerful cyber resiliency strategy from Dell EMC protections are a key of enabling customer to increase their business agility. And I think that when we talk about digitalization, I mean, security is most important part, and one should look for it. And we as a partner are not only into technologies, providing the technologies which can help in terms of building a private cloud or moving people to move into the public cloud, but also into making sure that how the data which is being protected will be secured from these actors. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. I think that's very well said, and I think that's very well accepted as well. And I think it's important for all of us to think of all aspects of risk, security, cyber attack, all of those kind of things, and probably more so even now, right? So, Mr. Nayak, I'll quickly jump to you in terms of, with increasing digitization, and Mr. Jambunathan talked about the increasing amount of data that is coming along, the amount of he alluded to voice analytics, which has again probably become a big thing that we're talking about data that we probably had or have or collect through the course of our customer journeys, but we don't probably use them very well, and also this whole thing of embedding analytics for us to make data-driven decisions and use analytics to make business decisions easier, all of those kind of things. What do you feel has changed? Have you seen a change in mindset? Have you seen a change in adoption on the analytics/data area within the organization? And some of the nuggets in that area would be very helpful for the audience.
Yeah, I think along with talking change in mindset regarding digitization, change in mindset regarding adoption of a lot of analytics-based techniques also has undergone a significant change. We had been using AI/ML solutions. It's only now that so most of our solutions are developed by our business intelligence units, where we have data scientists who are developing solutions. Now, not only are the data scientists developing, but right as we speak, we are running a training program for our underwriters to learn a programming language like Python. So they would, participate along with the data scientists in working on these solutions. So the mindset change is there, and it is something that is happening across the organization as we speak. It's not only now technology, obviously not just a realm of just the technology department. It's the business which drives the technology in most of the cases. We know that in digitization, but in something as complex as AI/ML, we have seen other parts of the organization also wanting to learn, wanting to understand and participate in the co-creation of solutions. And we have created solutions along the way which have kind of significantly eased policy servicing. If I may quote a couple of examples, we have put in place a solution for medical claims authorization, which is based on it uses a bit of AI as well as ML techniques. This is when you go to a hospital and want to apply for a cashless claim. Usually the process takes about a couple of hours, where you put in doctor's diagnosis, you send and give all that to the TPA desk out there along with your policy details, and then it's sent back to the insurer. Insurer processes that and sends it back, that okay, you can get admitted and we'll pay whatever is the amount that is there. Now here we are digitizing this completely and then using AI to process the information that is there, and a lot of the information is completely free text. Doctor's diagnosis in complete free text. So the AI reads that, it figures out from the policy terms and conditions whether the case is medically admissible or not. So that's eliminating what a doctor does in the back end. And once that diagnosis is done, whether the AI determines that the case is medically admissible, then there's an ML solution which actually decides what's the amount that can be approved. This whole process takes place in less than 90 seconds. So that significantly, I mean, this is a complete change in the way the whole process occurs. And right now we are doing about, for a corporate cashless case, about 70% of our entire authorizations are being done through this AI/ML process. So it's a significant change from the earlier process, which is take 1.5 to 2 hours for getting that authorization. And especially at time of need, when you're wanting to get yourself admitted to a hospital, you want the least amount of friction out there. A similar case in with policy renewals for lapsed motor policies, right? So if your policy lapses, you kind of need to get a survey done to see whether there's any damage in the lapse period before you policy is reissued. So, and usually when you realize that your policy has lapsed, it's already you'll realize sometime in middle of night or something, and then you kind of wait for putting in your request. Then someone will send a surveyor that could take any time between 24 to 72 hours per surveyor to reach you, depending on your availability, surveyor's availability. So now we have a solution where the customer can just take photos from his app, and there's a stencil given of the vehicle. So he has to take photos in those 8 locations, and there's a AI solution which reads the images and figures out whether there is any damage or dent on the car. And if there's no damage, it just passes this completely, and the policy is issued instantaneously. So it completely removes the friction from the process again, using AI solutions. And customer can do this 24/7. It doesn't have to wait for the surveyor to be available and surveyor to reach you at place. So there are, and these are solutions that now the claims and underwriting team are building along with the data scientists. It's not just the data scientists who are working on this. It's the entire organization is coming together and working on these solutions. And then many more of these which we are kind of putting in place. But the mindset change has been that earlier what used to be a preserve just the technology or the data scientist team, now it's more a entire organization which is working on it. They're working in agile teams, and they are working on the development with using agile methodologies. And that's the mindset change that I see that has come about.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's almost like a science fiction movie coming to life. Really, if we listen to the way things are changing. Mr. Agarwal, I'll jump to you in terms of all of these changes happening, right? The technology backbone has sort of become so important. Imagine if the person was trying to take a picture in the case of trying to at a hospital and the technology didn't work or the technology gave inaccuracies and things like that, right? So really the backbone of running all of this is the technology. It's important for the technology to be always available. How have technology teams scaled up? How have technology teams morphed? And what are the key changes you're seeing in the tech world, especially from a people skill standpoint?
Yeah, so I think technology world has been changing. I think technology in financial services has been a little bit behind, but if you look at the technology world, the emergence of serverless computing, cloud computing, these are not new phenomena. I mean, they have been associated with a lot of digital transformation, but a lot of these phenomena are more than a decade old now, and we have seen large platforms coming out of these phenomena. Whether you talk about Amazon globally or Ali or Google or Facebook, these are old, in that sense, kind of a decade-old phenomena. I think in the enterprise context, what we have seen is a differentiation in terms of how enterprises look at their key role in terms of managing technology and what kind of technology they are adopting. I can go area by area. So, for example, today, earlier, everybody was running large data center, and I'm sure Ms. Handa still runs huge amount of data centers. Probably they are the largest consumer of data center services in the country today. But we are also seeing emergence of IaaS solutions, PaaS solutions, SaaS solutions, machine learning as a service. So I think the whole areas in terms of infrastructure management and then the capability to manage and orchestrate those services, I think that is a new capability which enterprises are more and more attuning to. How do they architect the systems on these new capabilities to leverage these capabilities and where to leverage? I think those are the new, I would say, engineering capabilities. When you look at security, I think a panelist talked about security. We've seen perimeter security where we would prevent our door very artfully, and now there's no perimeter which exists. The moment we go into a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud security, there is no perimeter. The world is your perimeter, right? And now the data is transmitted via satellite, so beyond Earth as well. So your perimeter is everywhere, right? In that sense. So how do you orchestrate security? So there are new principles of security which is emerging. There are new skill set on security which is emerging. Not only security, now you have auto remediation technologies, both on infrastructure side, both are and security side. So I think the skill set are getting more and more specialized on each of the technology areas. One thing I've always talked about, when we look at enterprise company or say financial services company, because most of the people are in financial, we will have multiple units of financial services. There'll be asset department, there'll be liability department, and so on and so forth, and then there will be one technology department. And this cycle completely gets reversed when you go to technology company. They will have a DevOps department, they would have an application department, and they would have an engineering, data engineering department, and there'll be one finance department, right? So I think this merger is happening where we are seeing that more specialized area and skills are what is required in technology. We are also seeing that a lot of these technology adoptions, there are people who've taken a lot of insourcing approach from a complete vendor or managed service provider approach. That collaboration is much higher in terms of skill set. And every day we are seeing a launch of a new company, a new method of either doing a log analytics, either doing a machine learning, either doing a data storage. So I think that skill set is becoming more and more specialized rather than a generic skill set. And we are seeing that emerging areas across the board. And I can talk, 10 different areas from application development to DevOps. Girish talked about, agile development. We talked about hybrid cloud. We talked about security. And the skill sets will become more and more specialized. And the skill set to orchestrate these multiple plethora of services, I think, is getting more and more complex. While it simplifies the management, but the skill sets are getting more complex. And that's the emergence and that's the effort I think everybody is taking. The technology skill sets are being transmitted to the business, as Girish rightly pointed out. Who thought about, that you would have underwriters or business people learning programming? but that's a truth today. So I think it's just becoming a common place. I mean, we see enough ads on the internet where 7-year-old kids are learning how to program, right? Everybody wants to teach their kids the programming language. I'm sure there'll be a time that, sometime in the future, kids will learn programming language before speaking language. So who knows what will happen?
Yes. Anyway, I had just have a minute more, and I did have a question for Mr. Lee, which was very linked to this in terms of how are you attracting talent, Mr. Lee? We just have a minute. I'm sorry about this. How are you attracting and retaining talent in this ever-changing world and going forward? Probably at 12:45 right now.
For talent retention in Hong Kong and China, because we are lucky we have a bunch of supply from the very famous university, particularly in Greater China region, Taiwan, Hong Kong, mainland China, even some good candidates from India, Pakistan. So, the key thing is we keep the disruptive technology really help to solving the technology problem, the business problem. This is the first thing. The second thing is we keep our IT industry all the time is interesting. Interesting is the most important thing because we focus on business, how to solve the problem for the business. But Greater China, in the last 3 years, we drive the hackathon from something. IT society, we encouraging the funny and interesting topic, let the young people to do the research, help the government, help the society. So how to combine with this kind of morale and then how to contribute their know-how, transform into a intelligent to help our industries, the most important things. So my idea is that we are trying to keep the talent. We are all the time enjoying their environment. This is my 2 cents. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for an extremely engaging panel. I thank you on behalf of all of us for making this such an interesting discussion. Thanks, Kavya. And back to you.